So let's take a look at another option here, and then what we're going to do is run another load test. So the thing is that one of the things that you may look at here, if you know how queries work, that running the same query over and over again for customer ID of 42 might skew the results, meaning that if the orders table is really big and all of the orders for customer 42 were 5 years ago and they're all in one section of the table, well, it might not be really simulating real load. So what we're going to do is I just ran this query, select distinct customer ID from orders. I'm going to go in here and copy with headers. What I want to do is copy that entire 99,994 customer IDs. And then I'm going to go back to query loading ramp and paste those in as parameters. They were already here before for my testing, but I'm just going to clear it out and then paste the new ones in. And what it's saying here is you can use this tag, which is customer ID in a curly bracket, and in place of the actual number that's there. So instead of customer ID 42, we're going to use dynamic customer IDs. And then we're going to say down below here, it says there's 99,994 rows in the column customer ID. So I'm going to test the query. And here it goes. It tested it with 5 different customer IDs, and it showed that, yeah, the first time it was run, it took 165 milliseconds, and then it took about 20 milliseconds, 15 to 20 milliseconds on each one after that. But let's run this one more time like that. And let's go for 2 minutes this time. And we'll run the load. So at this point, it's same test as before, but the only difference is instead of always looking up the same customer ID of 42, it's passing in a different customer ID every time that query is being run.
So in this exact example, I think it would be pretty safe to say that the entire table can be stored in memory. So we're not going to be pushing out of memory at this point into TempDB. Adding those parameters could, on a bigger table or a larger query, definitely could start pushing stuff out of memory, right?
Yeah, I mean, let's say you had, I don't know, 20 gigs of RAM. No, let's say you're on a small SQL server with just like a couple gigs of RAM. Don't do that, but let's say you were. And your table was 4 gigs and you only had 2 gigs of RAM. Well, in order to scan that whole table, it's going to cause some things to be chucked out of memory and have to be loaded in from disk, unless you've got the right indexing in place, of course. But that's where your page life expectancy would tank at that point. So looking at this load, we're seeing about a sustained load of about 150, which is just a hair higher than we saw last time. I think we were in the 125 range, so not really that different. Our CPU has jumped a little bit higher this time than we saw last time. And this test is going to run for a little bit longer. And the reason I'm letting this one run just a little bit longer is that there is additional reporting that we can show in here once the load test is complete. The other thing is we're seeing down below on the query latency that 95% of the time the queries are finishing in about 2.5 seconds or less. But what's interesting here is we're starting to see errors now, and our active sessions is starting to drop off. So something has happened that's maxed out the capacity here. Timeouts, we're getting timeouts. So there are some queries that are timing out when this is trying to run. And what we want to do is let this finish. I'll make this a little bit bigger here so we can see all the results. So there's about 20 seconds or 15 seconds, I guess, left in this load test. We'll let it finish and then we'll take a look at the results and see how that compared to the previous one.
So overall, from the average query time to our P50 or our P99, are you seeing anything that would be really concerning, or they're all fairly similar? I think to me, it's just not good in general across averages.
Right. It's not good. I mean, on average, we're in 2.5 to 3 seconds for the query to run. And that means that every page view on the site is going to be 2.5 to 3 seconds slowed down because of that. And that might be just 1 out of 50 queries on a web page, right?
Thanks for watching. I'm Steve, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you like it, please click the thumbs up icon. And if you want to subscribe, click subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to get notified when we have new videos. All right, have a great day.